Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chat and Craft with Lorraine. My name is Lorraine Tierney, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. And I like to make cards, I like to send cards, I like to share cards with people, and I really, really like to help people make cards. So tonight I'm making this video and it's of a card box that you can gift your cards in, and it will hold at least 4 cards in envelopes. It might even hold 6, depending on how thick or how many layers you have on your cards. So let's get started making this. Let me switch my camera over. I'd love it if you'd say hello if you're watching this, and let me know where you're watching from, and just give me a comment. It makes my day. Of course, you can like and subscribe as well. So here is the card box. I call it a flap fold box because it just has a flap. I made this one with the Painterly Pears papers, and this is encircled with love stamp there. And you can see it's 2 pieces that fit together. And here it has 4 cards and 4 envelopes. And I made a set of cards to match with the Painterly Pears and the Perfectly Pears stamp set. So let's get started. I've cut my paper already, but I'll give you the measurements and we'll score and assemble the box together. Okay, so this first we're going to make this inside piece, okay, the old olive piece that holds the cards there. That's going to be first. Excuse me, I think I'm going to move my camera up a little bit. I feel like I'm a little bit too close and that you can't see. And I have something on my screen. There we go. I can get rid of that. Okay, so the first piece, we're going to use some cardstock, Timid Tiger and Cloud Cover. And then I'm going to use the 2025-2027 In Color Designer Series paper, the ones that come in these fun patterns in the different colors. And you can see I've used a lot of these already, but that's what we're going to use, Timid Tiger. So this first piece is 9 5/8 by 6 1/4, and we are going to score that at what are we going to score that at? We're going to score it at 7/8 on each short side. So I like to use on my Stampin' Up! Trimmer, I'm going to go to the right of the score line and use the 7/8 there, because now my paper's solidly on my cutter and it's not hanging off. So 7/8, and then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do 7/8 again. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it the long way and I'm going to score it at 3 inches. And then at 3 7/8 inches. And these measurements will all be in an accompanying blog post. Okay, so that's what we do for that piece. We'll cut that and assemble that in a minute. We have another piece of the card base. This is the piece that's going to be this flap. So it's petal pink in this. It's 4 3/4 by 11. And we just have to put 2 score lines in it, one at 5 3/4 and one at 6 3/4. That's all we have to do on that one. And I'm just going to put that aside for a second. And we'll make our inside piece. So let me get this trimmer out of the way. The first thing I'm going to do is just fold and burnish all of these score lines. Get them nice and crisp. Okay, and this box is pretty simple to put together. I'm going to hold it the long way, and I'm going to cut these two vertical score lines up to that first horizontal line. So I'm just going to use my scissors and cut up right on that score line, right up to the score line, and then I'll turn it and do these other two. That's all we need to do to make this box. Now, I'll show you this box again. You can see that it's made by folding up this piece right here. So I think it would be easiest to go ahead and put our pieces on right there. I'm just going to stick this in so you can see that the front of this is shorter than the back. I have the shorter side folded up. Okay, I'm just going to put this in here so we can see our score lines, and I'm going to put a mat in that's 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And I'm going to put a piece of the DSP on that that's 2 1/2 by 4. So it's just 1/4 inch smaller. Oh, I could do that side too. I'm going to do the way I had it originally. Okay. And then we'll put this on the front. It's just a little easier to put this on while the paper is flat. The cardstock is flat. And I'm just trying to get an even border. Okay. So now I'm going to open that back up, and I'm going to take those two little flaps that we cut, and I'm going to push them in like this, and I'm going to put some glue on the top part because I'm going to glue these sides up just like that. Okay, get them nice and square, and you have to hold them for just a second or 10 to give that glue a chance to set. Okay, so it's giving us this kind of thing. Oops. Okay, and I like to put these front flaps to the back. Okay, so that when you look at the front, you don't see any seams there. So now I'm going to put some glue on these. And they're going to wrap around this and go on both sides. Okay. And you can stick your finger in there to get them nice and smooth and have some good contact. And now we have two skinny pieces of cardstock. These are 5 1/2 by 3/4, and they're going to go on each side. I really like this Timid Tiger color. I am a big fan of orange anyway, but I think this is such a pretty shade. Not too bold, not too pastel, just right. Okay. All right, so there we go. That is our inside box all ready. That's perfect. Just getting that on. So now we just need to do the flap. And we're going to fold on those two score lines. And there's one thing about this flap. The front of it, take that off. The front of it is shorter than the back. And it would be better if our cardstock was like 13 inches or even 12 inches might be better, but I wasn't sure if everybody would have 12-inch piece. So it kind of goes like this. All right, and um, eventually we're going to glue this in right up to that score line as far as we can go. But we need to extend the length of this a little bit. So I'm going to put this on top of my box. Now I don't want to glue any paper to my box. This has to flap up, but I'm going to glue my paper right here, and I'm going to put tear and tape right there. I'm going to go right along that edge. I can't press down hard enough to get that off. Let's see. I want it to line right up with the edge of my box. So I can put another piece of tear and tape on the underside of this, just to be sure that I'm getting good contact there. Okay, I want to make sure this is in. Well, maybe we will go ahead and glue this. I didn't do this the last time, but let's try it and see what we think. Let's go ahead and glue this in. Now, the flap piece is a little bit wider than the box, so you have a little bit of an overhang on each side. So I'm trying to get that straight as well. There we go. You can take your bone folder and smooth that around in there. Okay, and now we'll put this on so that it's nice and straight and it comes to the end of the box. I don't want it to hang over the box. I have just a little tiny bit of the box showing there. Okay. And that's all right if it looks a little bit crooked. We're going to put a 4 3/4 wide by 5-inch piece of DSP right over that. Okay, so that's next. That was 4 3/4 wide by 5 inches long. Okay, and I want to put this, and then I'll trim it, just a piece of cardstock right there. I really like when I think on this one, oh, I guess I put it underneath. I wished I had put it over on that one, but I didn't. So we'll just put this on next. This is just 1/4 inches wide, and I cut it about 5 inches so it would hang over, and I could trim it exactly even with my paper. So I'm going to do that. Then we just have one more piece of paper to put on, and that is another 4 3/4 by 2-inch piece that's just going to cover this up here to make that look a little bit neater. And you're going to want to just line it up exactly with this other piece. So this one gets glue on the whole thing. And then I'll just line it up right here. Perfect. And that gives that flap a little more substance too. There you go. If you have a corner rounder, you can round those corners also. And then I thought I would just put a little sentiment right there. This is from the Thankful Garden stamp set. Thankful for you, friend. And maybe pop that up a little bit right there. I have an edge of some dimensionals that will be perfect to go right there. And then a little, whoops, a little glue on this part because it's a little higher and lower with those layers right there. And of course, we should have a little bling. Let me get my in color pearls, flat pearls. I love these. And we'll put a couple of these on. Let's put one there and one over there and a big one up there. And then I can make some cards that would coordinate with this. And those could go in the inside. You could use your mini alphabet dies and put like notes or for you or something right there too, if you wanted. But there is our flap fold box. I hope you'll give it a try, and I hope you'll let me know how you like it. All right, thanks so much for watching. If I can help you make cards at home or scrapbook or make boxes like this, I would love to do that. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that you're working with and you would like a catalog, I'd be happy to send you one. Just leave me a comment, okay? Thanks very much. Bye-bye.